We are gathered here today to pay respects to Megson, Werebro, Melman, and Billy Bob Alt Kerman. They gave their lives in pursuit of the Reusable space program. Their spirits will soar above Kerbal always.
Times were tough, so I sold my soul. And I don't think I'll ever regain control. Devil looked me in the eye, now I look the other way. What else could I do? I just stood at the doorway and knew I'd rather be drunk with you. I'd rather be drunk.
Hey Internet, Dracofunk here. Welcome back to my Reusable Space Program Season 4, Episode 1. It's a new year, a new season, and we've started the season off with a little bit somber, sad, but we're pushing ahead. So we are launching another mining craft to the Mun. I think this is... I think this is only the third one for the Mun, but we're also on the third one for Minmus. But that's okay. I'm using a different booster. Last time it didn't quite make it, so we added 2 more strap-ons, and it's fine. It's going to get into orbit this time. It's practically there. And these guys, Ordard and Gillen... Whoops, that's the wrong button. Guess just testing the drill, fixing the solar panels. It's fine. Everything should work now. Yeah, Ordard and Gillen, you're going straight to the moon and straight to work. And that's where we are. We need fuel. And this is what drives the Reusable Space Program. And the whole purpose of this is an infrastructure in space. If this is the first episode you've seen, we have infrastructure in orbit of Kerbal. There's a Enterprise station, and then Columbia Station in orbit of the Mun, and that's kind of my main fuel depot. There's also a station in orbit of Minmus that does the same thing. Mining on Minmus takes a lot longer than mining on the Mun, but it's easier to land on. Then we also have infrastructure set up in the Duna system. There is a base in orbit of Duna. There's ground bases on Duna. I don't think I've landed any rovers there. I need to land some rovers there. There's also a fuel depot and mining operation in orbit of Ike, almost exactly like the one here in orbit of the Mun. We have been working on setting up space tourism. I wanted that set up last season, and we just didn't quite get there. The station is built. It has a dedicated ferry, a dedicated cruise ship that goes in orbit of the Mun, and a couple of dedicated SSTOs for that. However, it's not 100% ready. We need to send the fuel infrastructure for the space tourism isn't completed yet. But that's what we're working on now. My goal this season, I always think I can get more done than I plan. Or I always think I can do more than I have time. But this season, we are going to Eve. We are going to set up the infrastructure of the Eve system. I would like to do an Eve surface base, although at this point in time, I'm not sure how to do the ascent from Eve. Therefore, anybody landing on Eve is going to have to plan to be staying there. I will set up a space station in orbit of Eve, and then a mining operation in orbit of Gilly. But that will be an undertaking, and once we have the mining mining station in orbit where we have fuel coming in and going out, the space trucks can come and start doing the real work. But we are landing on the Mun. Now, if you've seen these episodes before, you've seen the mining. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a split cut to after all the mining operations done. And yep, here we are. Mining is done. We are taking off. You'll notice I did not fill the oxidizer all the way, and that was on purpose. I do not need as much oxidizer as I do liquid fuel, and if I bring too much back, I won't have anywhere to store it. And not all my craft use oxidizer. A lot of them are using the Nerva nuclear engines, which only use liquid fuel. So I did not bring back a full tank of oxidizer. Now, the mining ship does use oxidizer, so it's pretty important that I get some. And there are a couple other ships that need oxidizer. So we do need to collect some and have some. I like to have at least a little bit on hand. And I do not believe that the station is actually full of oxidizer. And we're going to do probably a couple mining missions this episode. So last season I launched the space trucks. Initially it was 8 space trucks, although one of them broke and needed to land and be repaired, which it has been. I launched more and more. I think there are a total of 15 now, although one does need to go in for repairs. So it's going to have to land and be relaunched. But that's okay. And the space truck's job is to be they transport basically whatever needs transporting for the reusable space system. They're kind of the civilian contractors, spaceships, and one of the rules for the space trucks is they can't go to a new system until there is fuel infrastructure set up. So they will not be on the initial mission to Eve, not at least until we have some sort of fuel depot set up. And here we are coming into the space station, and the mining ship's docking to the bottom of it. There are already technically 4 other spacecraft here. There's a little unmanned, we call it the Pug, which is just kind of a utility craft. Then there's the SUV, which is a lander using the nuclear engines. the Ares craft, which is kind of like the utility spaceship, and then that two-bodied craft with the big fuel tank, like this right here, is one of the space trucks. And it is only currently hauling one fuel tank, but that fuel tank is now full of liquid fuel and will go to the Space Tourism Space Station in orbit of Kerbal. And I'm going to... Eventually, there will be 3 tanks like this and 1 monopropellant tank. And they will be responsible for refueling all the tourism cruise ships. And here is another space truck. I believe this is Space Truck 13. And it's going to have its turn docking to Columbia Station to have its fuel tank refilled. We are so low on Delta V. I only have 88 Delta V left. So if I mess this up, I will not be able to do this again. But it's fine. I'm practically here at the station. It can use monopropellant to finish the docking. In reality, it is more efficient to basically use almost all your fuel. Assuming you do the most efficient flights and you have only enough fuel, because the more fuel you have, the more weight. So anything extra is basically wasted. I agree, it's good to have some for redundancy, but speaking strictly of efficiency, you do not want to have much more fuel than you actually need. And here we are. Now we are docked. So we're going to do a couple fuel transfers. And then it will be time to send the mining craft back down to the MUN. And we'll do it all over again. And this is just the day-to-day operations. And I kind of step down the landing and try and find a flat spot. I thought I was doing good, and I should have started my descent burn just a little bit sooner. It's okay, I'll just burn in the opposite direction a little bit. And I'd like to get the lander oriented so it's, when I take off, it's the orientation that I'm used to from launching on Kerbal. I don't always remember, and if I don't remember, it's okay. And there we are. And we'll do all the mining again. And you've seen it before, so let's just go ahead and do a split cut. There we are. Again, we're full, still not full of oxidizer. And we're going to take off. And on the MUN, it's good to just start turning, you want to make sure that you're at least flying over the horizon. Sometimes it can be a little bit higher, and you don't want to fly into a mountain again. And now the Mun station, I probably should have put it in a 100-kilometer orbit. At the time, back in the first season, and at this point years ago, I put it in a 30-kilometer orbit. I think my thinking at the time was that it would save fuel landing and launching, and maybe it does, but I feel like the 100-kilometer orbit was fine. So now we're doing the 30-kilometer orbit. All right. And there is the space station already. All right. So if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so, like and subscribe, hit the bell. I recently also started a 200 subscriber special where I am going to attempt to drive a rover train from the equator of the Mun to the North Pole of the Mun. I'm a little bit concerned because the North Pole is not the most hospitable terrain. And I've never taken a rover there. I did land, there is a surface base there that I will use to home in on eventually. Currently, I've launched the rover train, and it is I believe it is in orbit of the Mun. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in orbit of the Mun. And I will be landing it. I'm going to split cut through all the fuel transfers. And the mining ship's going to do one more mining mission because one isn't quite enough to fill the whole fuel tank with the space truck. But back to the rover train. And so over the next couple weeks, the next big milestone is to land the rover train on the surface of the Mun. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do it all at once or in pieces. There's currently 4 parts to the rover train, and I might launch a 5th part. So I've done 2 subscriber specials already. I did it at first. We were going to do a 50 subscriber special, but before I could even get everything posted out, we'd already hit 50. So, well, originally it was going to be 47. And we missed that, so we were going to do 50, and then we had already hit 50. So we did a 60 subscriber special, where I drove a rover train from the KSC to the North Pole. And I did that successfully. And then I did a 100 subscriber special, or it was a challenge. If we could reach 100 subscribers before the end of 2022, I would drive that rover train from the North Pole of Kerbal to the South Pole of Kerbal. And we did that. So I attempted that, and I succeeded. I drove the same rover train that drove from the KSC from the North Pole all the way to the South Pole. It took like 40-something episodes. There were a couple crashes. But all the crashes were handled in-game. The front of the rover train broke. None of the Kerbals died. But I did have to replace the front of the Kerbal train. Or rover train. Again, I split cut through the mineral things. But in the 100 subscriber special, after the rover train broke, I flew out a new locomotive unit, the front of the rover train, from the KSC, and landed it close by. The aircraft slightly crashed, but it was okay. The pilots were able to join the rover train. And I'm also split cutting to the rendezvous because it's redundant. It's stuff you've seen before. But yeah, go back and check out that video. Maybe at the end of this, I will do like a highlights video from the 60 subscriber special and the 100 subscriber special, and we'll see. I'm going to attempt this 200 subscriber special. I'm going to attempt to get the rover train to the North Pole. I believe I've decided I'm going to land it in the crater there's a little canyon that kind of goes north, and I think I'm going to start in the middle of that crater and drive up the canyon. There we are. Now that I'm docked, right here I started having, like, my game started running real slow. I actually had to restart, and then I cut out all the so much fuel transfer. But I was able to get the space truck full, and now that's 2 of the 3 space trucks are ready to head back to the space tourism station. The third one is not yet in orbit of the Mun. And I'm probably going to send one of these space trucks actually to dock with it and get it refueled, and then both of them will come back and be refueled again, just because it ended up in a bad spot last season. And by a bad spot, it ended up in a very inclined orbit, and the space truck that picked up the fuel tank did not have enough fuel to make it back. And now we have, this is Space Truck 7, I believe. And it is in a polar orbit. And the reason it's in a polar orbit was it delivered the North Pole station for the 200 subscriber special. And my only goal right now is for it to fix its inclination and get into orbit, the same orbital plane as the space station. And as you can see, it does not have enough fuel, at least not liquid fuel. It is now completely out of liquid fuel, but I only need 30, it is about 40 delta V, and I'm just going to do it with monopropellant. And my goal is, once it's in the same orbital climb, I will send the tanker to refuel it, and then it can dock and rejoin its friends back at the truck stop in orbit of Kerbal and await its next mission. And we've succeeded, and we're gonna go ahead and stop here. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm excited about Season 4 of the Reusable Space Program. I'm kind of grueling over the 200 subscriber special, but hey,